Okay, so we're doing a beaded install today. So I've already installed some of her hair. I'm gonna show you the rows that I've done. So in through the back here, you can see we have a few rows. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 rows. On the bottom row here, I used a bead with silicone because extensions are more prone to slip in the nape. So the silicone gives you a little bit of an extra grip on their hair so that the extensions don't slip. For the rest of the beads, I just use the regular beads. Typically, when you do a beaded extension install, you don't need silicone everywhere, just through these areas here. When you put them in, you want it to be the same section size as your bead. When you flatten it, that's how big you want the sections to be. You don't want to see any hair being pulled into the bead from other areas, so just nice and straight. You also don't want to have any crosshairs, which would be like a hair coming from this bead over into this bead. So you don't want any of that either. You want to make your section as clean as across as you can. For doing the bottom row, how to know where to start is to do a 2 fingers from the bottom row. Another way to know where to start is to take your rat tail comb. So you take your rat tail comb, and then if you bend the hair and you can see the rat tail comb through the hair, then you need to go up higher because that will mean that your extensions will show. So we're gonna put in her first row on this side. We're gonna go a little higher. Then I like to set myself up for success and use another clip to make my section for the bottom. So I'm gonna go across. This section should be about 1/2 inch thick. I'm gonna go ahead and just clip this right underneath here so that I have my clean working section area. And then we're gonna go ahead and start. I usually like to go from back to front. So I have my loop tool all prepared. You wanna make sure that the beads, where the lip is here, that it goes down. So you're gonna have the open top and then the lip on the bottom. So that's how you load the beader. And then you're gonna use this tool. This one is gonna have a lot more of clamping power. If the plier is too small, you may not be able to clamp all the way across the bead. So we're gonna begin with our pre-sectioned section. If you do not have fingernails, I would recommend using the rat tail comb because you want to make sure that your partings are really clean. And I'm going to take just about the width of the bead when it's smushed. So that's about like the tip of my fingernail there. A little smaller than 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to take my loop tool with 2 fingers through it. I'm going to grab the hair through. So now the loop tool is now on the hair. And take the bead, I'm gonna push the bead up over to the hair and pull the hair all the way through. And then I will make sure to grab it with my hand so that the bead doesn't slide off. I'm gonna put this back on my hand, just on 1 finger so I can use my hand to work. And I'm going to slide the bead up to where I want it, hold it with my left hand, and I'm gonna grab my hair. Now you're going to shove the eye-tip a little further up into the section for now so that you can get control over where you want it to go. Grab the bead, don't clamp yet. You're gonna go ahead and then move the bead up to the top of the eye-tip, and then you're going to squish right in the middle. Where you want this is right at the bottom of this section. You don't want it too far down and you don't want it too far up. So just right in the bottom of the section there. Clamp in the middle first, then clamp the top, and then clamp the bottom. The eye-tip should be very close to the top of the bead and or flush. You don't want it sticking out very far. It should be just right to the top. Then go ahead and take your next section. You can do the same section size that you did before, and you're going to do it right next to your other bead. You don't want to add any hairs in between when you're creating a row. When you clamp down with your plier, you want to make sure that you really clamp so that it's gonna give it enough tension. If your guest comes back to you and there's hair coming out of the bead this direction, that means it wasn't clamped tight enough or that the bead you used is not strong enough for their hair type. Once completed with a row and the hair falls, you'll see that there's a slight bit of gapping in between, and that's just because of the way the beads go. So on your following row, you want to place extensions in between so that it's bricklaying. So you'll start a little bit different over here. The next thing to know about placement with extensions that's really important is you can see right now that there's a disconnect from the front and the back. There's a hole right here, and what that comes from is from there not being much overlap of these extensions here. So you can see where I put this row, and this extension here ends right where this one starts. So you always want to make sure that you cover your corners really well. So this is going to be the beginning of our impact row. The impact row is a row that goes all the way across to the other side, and then you begin to continue to fill in through the sides. Okay, we're gonna begin the impact row. You can see on this side that we have our bead here, and then we have our bead here. So this is gonna be the row that connects the two sides together. Because of the placement of how far up we normally have to put the sides so that they don't show, there is gonna be hair left in between this row and this next row. Typically, you don't wanna leave space if you can help it, but usually the impact row is a little higher, so you need to leave some space. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go through and section out the correct amount of hair and get myself set up for success so that I don't have to deal with it while I'm beading. This row also too dips a little bit in the back. If you can see that where it comes here, so it starts a little higher and then dips in the back. That's gonna make it so that when they put their hair up, it's a little bit more comfortable. The hair that you're gonna leave out in between here is gonna be from the bottom of this beaded row to the bottom of this beaded row, so that on top it will match evenly. Sometimes people's heads can be longer on one side or shorter on the other, or there can be more hair density or less hair density. So you wanna do your sectioning based around the hair density, not necessarily because you want it to be a perfect line underneath from here to here. You can see there's more hair here left out than there is hair here that's left out. In this video, I do have my model handing me my hair for convenience. In real life, you will not ask your guest to hand hair to you. You will have an assistant, or you will pick it up off the tray, even if it is difficult to do. So this is the row that's going to be covering that gap area right above her ear. So it's really important to make sure you get those all together here so that there's no gapping in their hair.